All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Quickly, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. This is a collaboration. We are partnering here with one of the spokes with the Back to Business Source application. So my name is Paola. I am with the Berwyn Development Corporation. I'm the project manager on the economic development team, and one of my roles here is primarily getting businesses connected to resources. So that was what brings us here today. Berwyn Development Corporation is located in Berwyn, Illinois. If you're not too familiar with the area, we're just about 15 minutes west of the Loop. So we really help the western suburbs as well as neighborhoods in Chicago that are centrally located to us. So we will be able to assist you one-on-one if you have any questions after this. And I'll pass it on to Ticina.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Paola. My name is Ticina Williams. I am the new program manager for the Southeast Chicago Commission. And as a new program manager, I am focusing on community outreach, as well as partnership development for the Arts and Culture Capital Lab, as well as creative entrepreneurs. And the Southeast Chicago Commission facilitates and supports economic development within the five Southeast lakefront communities of Hyde Park, Kenwood, Oakland, Washington Park, and Woodlawn. And so, as Paula said, we work to connect our businesses with resources and our communities and making our communities a better place to live, work, and play. So thank you guys for being here. And in keeping with our agenda today, I will be discussing an overview of the grant, as well as the eligibility requirements and the application, the documents you need for the application process. And so, Paula, do you want to just continue on? Is it fine if I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead,
Awesome.
Ticina. I'm gonna just copy and paste the quick agenda in the chat if anyone wants to follow along.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, as I discussed, guys, we are here today to provide an overview of the Illinois B2B NewBiz grant, which is a grant that is to provide financial relief to any businesses that started during the pandemic, but also in industries that were most impacted by the pandemic. And so those businesses that have not been typically eligible for state grants or federal emergency funding are the priority businesses for this Back to Business new grant. And so in order to be eligible for this grant, for-profit businesses and any nonprofit organizations, you must meet all of the criteria listed below. So one, you must have started operations between January 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. You must have had gross receipts of at least $25,000 and up to $20 million in 2021. Or if you started in 2021, you can do an annualized number. You also must have current active operations in Illinois to be eligible for this grant. And you must not have received any Illinois Back to Business grant prior to 2023. So that includes the Business Interruption Grant, or BIG, the Back to Business grant, or any Back to Business grant or B2B grant that was issued prior to 2020, as well as the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant or the Restaurant Revitalization Grant. If you receive any of that funding, you are not eligible for this particular round of funding. You must also meet one of the following two criteria. So your business or nonprofit should be in a priority industry, or the business is majority owned by an individual or individuals that received or were eligible for the unemployment insurance benefits, including pandemic unemployment assistance, or PUA, between March 13, 2020 and the date the business began operations. So again, if you are in a priority industry, that would include hotels, any hotels, motels, inns, hostels, and bed and breakfasts, but it does not include vacation rentals. If you were if your business is in a restaurant or a bar and you did not receive the restaurant revitalization grant, you are in a priority industry. Arts organizations and businesses, performing arts or presenting arts organizations, arts education organizations are eligible, clothing and electronic retail establishments, including e-commerce, as well as dry cleaning and laundry services. Priority industries also include home healthcare services. So any organization or business that provides healthcare services in a patient's home, childcare providers, but this only includes childcare providers that have not received or are not registered for any childcare restoration grants. Barbershops and salons are in priority industries, as well as any indoor recreation space. So that would include indoor play or fitness activities, bowling alleys, skating rinks, trampoline parks, indoor playgrounds, field houses, laser tag, and any indoor sports facilities would be a priority industry. So in keeping with that, any ineligible business will be any independent contractors or freelance workers that do not operate as a sole proprietorship. Again, any recipients of those prior grants, child care providers that have received that child care restoration grant, any private clubs or businesses that limit membership or reasons for reasons other than capacity, any business that is engaged in speculative activities, develop profits from any fluctuations in price other than through normal course of business. Any business that earns more of its net revenue from lending activities, and it is a non-bank or non-bank holding company certified as a CDFI or community development financial institution. Those organizations are eligible if you are a community development financial institution. But if you are a bank or lending service, a non-bank or lending service, you do not qualify. If your business has derived 33% of its income from legal gambling activities, you do not qualify. Any business that is engaged in pyramid sales where the participants' primary incentive is based on an ever-increasing number of participants, that does not qualify. Or as well as any business that is engaged in any activity that is prohibited by federal or state law. Any business engaged in principally teaching, instructing, counseling, or indoctrinating religion or religious beliefs, whether in a religious or secular setting, does not qualify. A government-owned business entity, except for business owned or controlled by a Native American tribe, does not qualify. Any business engaged in political or lobbying activities, or that manufactures or sells tobacco, liquor, or firearms at a wholesale or retail level. Nightclubs, strip clubs, pawn shops, liquor stores, or any establishment that is enumerated above does not qualify for this particular funding. And a business in which a majority owner has a financial or familial connection to a director, principal shareholder, or leadership member of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, or the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities partners under the program. So any body that is connected to the grant or the organization does not qualify. Or lastly, any business that is primarily engaged in any COVID-19 testing or vaccine distribution. And so this particular grant will award sub-awards ranging from $5,000 to $30,000, which is determined based upon whether the business is a brick and mortar, and then also the amount of time the business was in operation. So, for instance, according to this chart, if your business start date was January 1st, 2020, up until June 30th, 2020, and you were a brick and mortar, you would qualify for a grant, up to $30,000. And if you were home-based, $10,000. If your business start date was through July 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, and you were brick and mortar, you would qualify for a grant up to $20,000 and $5,000 if you were home-based and started within that time period. And lastly, if your business were started January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, and you were brick and mortar, you would qualify for a grant up to $10,000 and $5,000 if your business was home-based, because the business start date is based upon the date the business was either incorporated or the date on the business license. So any sole proprietors that have started in 2020, whose professional license does not reflect a start date at all, will only be eligible for $5,000 grant. And lastly, the required documents to complete this application. The first document needed you would need to download from the Illinois Back to Business website, which I believe is ilbacktobiz.org, I believe, but I'll drop it in the chat. You would download this applicant certification certifying that the information that you have submitted and entered is that you certify that it is true and, you know, to the best of your ability. You would also need your 2021 completed, unaltered, and filed federal tax return. You would next need an acceptable government issued photo ID, which you would upload via the application through a platform called Persona. And that, again, is embedded in the application. So when you will come to that verification process, you would need to enter your driver's license, state ID, or the like. You would also need proof of business organization. And so that would include your document that has your assumed name, a business license, your articles of incorporation. Next, if you are a nonprofit organization, you would need to provide a proof of tax exemption form. You would also need to provide any professional licensing if that's applicable for your industry. And then lastly, provide a proof of location. And this is for brick and mortar businesses only, but you could, the proof forms that are accepted are your utility bill, a mortgage, a lease, proof of insurance, and PO boxes or any virtual addresses are not accepted for this application.
I'll add, Ticina, real quick here, is that it's important that you have a way to digitize the documents. Everything does have to be uploaded through the application portal, and they are only accepting them in a PDF version. So if you don't have the ability to use a scanner, there are some apps that you can download on your phone. You can take a picture and it converts it to a PDF as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then as well as which we'll get to this at the end, we are available at the Southeast Chicago Commission as well as the Berman Development Corp to also help with any technical assistance with the application as well. So getting those documents digitized or anything like that, we can help with that as well. And so, okay, I'll turn it over to you, Paola. We will walk through the steps of the application.
Thank you, Ticina, for the overview. I know that was real quick. It's a lot of information. So if anyone does have questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat, anything specific. We can also share our contact, as Ticina said, if you want to connect offline later. So I am going to switch it over to the application overview. And we will do a walkthrough of what that looks like. Can you see my screen, Ticina?
Yes.
All right. Do you see a full screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So how to start an application. So first of all, it's important to note that the application is being hosted on Lendistry portal. So when you do go to the B2B NewBiz website, it asks you to link out to Lendistry, and that is where you will actually have to go ahead and create an account. If you haven't started your application already, you need to create an account. It'll ask you for a username, your email, and a password, and then it will ask you every time that you go back to log in to verify with the, I believe it's a 6-digit code that they send to your cell phone number. So that's the first thing to note. And all the information again is on the Back to Business website. So we'll get started here with a walkthrough, kind of a quick overview of the required documents, what steps go in each section. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. So again, the Industry Portal, you will have to create a new account. And the information it asks you for is your name and then the multi-factor authentication. This is where it'll ask you to enter a mobile number for you to be able to get that access code. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to one of us, or there is a customer experience center number, which we'll share again after this call, but it's 888-209-3656. They're operating Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central. They're pretty quick. I've had to call them a couple times in helping businesses apply for the application. So they've responded, within 5-minute call, answer a quick technical question with the portal itself. So the application process. The very first section is going to ask you to enter owner or office details. So you're going to be needing to have your tax documents in front of you. It's really important that you have all the documents ready to go, whether you're doing this on your own or you're coming into the BDC or SECC office to fill out this application. Having your documents is the number one most important thing to have ready. So you're going to need to put your legal business name, and this is important that you note it as it is on your tax returns, because that's what they're going to be referencing when they're reviewing the application. It'll ask for the owner's legal first and last name, date of birth, and email, position. So if you're the owner, founder, president, whatever your title is with the business, and then you're going to have to enter address, physical address. Again, PO box is not accepted here. And if your mailing address is different than the physical address, please make note of that, as they will be asking you to verify that information. On your tax return, you should also have access to your Social Security or your ITIN number or your EIN number, depending on what it's asking you to input here, based on how your business is organized. It's going to ask you for the percentage of ownership. So most of the applicants that I've held are 100% owner. But if you're in a partnership, you may need to identify what those percentages are. And if you are working with a referral partner, that would be someone like us at the Berwyn Development Corporation or Ticina with Southeast Chicago Commission. There is a drop down here where you can select who you've been working with or who helped you fill out the application. There's also a note here for preferred language. So while the application does have to be submitted in English, there are application guides that kind of walk you through in Spanish and other languages on the website. So if you have a preference, they will be able to connect you with someone who speaks the language and help answer any questions. So next, if you are a business or nonprofit, you'd have to enter the information on the next section. It is asking for your assumed name. So if you're doing business as something other than what your business is registered, you will have to enter that as well. If it's assumed name or doing business as. If you are a nonprofit, you'll have to enter that information here as well for the physical address. Phone number for the organization. Again, this is where it's asking you to confirm if your physical is different from your mailing address. And then, does your business have an EIN? So sole proprietors won't have an EIN, but if you're an LLC or corporation, you will enter that number here. Again, typically easily found in your tax returns. It's asking you if you are, is your application a nonprofit organization or for-profit? So please identify that. And state of business formation. So if your business is registered in the state of Illinois, enter that. If your business is registered in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, or different, just please identify that. And then you'll have to ensure the date that your business was established. It's really important that you don't overlook this and double, triple check before you hit continue, because if you enter a date that's outside of the eligible requirements, then it's automatically going to say that you're not eligible for this grant. If your business or nonprofit organization has a website, you can also enter that information here. But if you don't have one, you can just go ahead and put NA or not applicable. That's not going to make you ineligible. Business, nonprofit information, continued here. How did you hear about the program? So there's a drop-down menu here. Again, if you heard from one of the spokes or you heard from Cook County, DCEO, Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity with the state of Illinois, there's a couple options here. Looking at your annual gross revenue on your tax returns, it will ask you to enter that. It's typically found on line 1A is gross revenue receipts. And then this will be asking you for your primary business activity. And if it's a priority industry. So I did drop the link on how to verify if your business is one of the priority industries earlier in the chat. But again, it's kind of tricky. They are looking at certain industries as priority, but if you're not one of those industries and you still met the requirements to receive unemployment insurance, then you may be eligible for this grant still. So if you think your industry is not a priority one, but you meet the unemployment requirement during that time frame that's specified, you can still fill out this application. In the preceding fiscal year, did your business or nonprofit generate 80% or more of its revenue from federal funding? So that kind of goes back to the same question about other grants that you may have received from Back to Business previously. And then here, identifying whether or not your business is home-based, that is going to determine, again, which of the tiers you would be eligible for this grant. I'm gonna pause real quick here. I see we have a couple of questions in the chat. Are charter schools eligible? Ticina, do you know?
According to my understanding, I think it was just like what you said, if they were not in that priority industry, and they would have to have met that other qualifications to get the pandemic unemployment insurance or the unemployment insurance, from what I understand. But we can ask for clarification on that. But from what I understand from this meeting, it was one or the other.
Because I don't think that's considered a nonprofit organization either. Dr. Ramona, maybe looking at that priority list, we can take another look as well. But we dropped the link in here. If you didn't see it, we'll try to take another look for you. And then we have, why don't the home-based businesses that started in 2021 say NA and not 5,000? I'm not sure if I'm understanding that correctly.
In the chart that I went over, the grant chart, for the businesses that were home-based but started in 2021, instead of saying a number, it just said not applicable. But I think in the fine print that what it said was that if you didn't have a document that, had a date on it, then you would just qualify for that $5,000 grant. And, that would be all.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's if you can't confirm the date of establishment.
Right.
So if you don't have your articles of incorporation or there's not a defined date on your business license.
Right. So it would just be 5,000.
Okay, moving on. The next section 4 asks for demographics. So this is going to be asking some questions about who your customer base is. Is it business to business or is it business to customers? Are you woman-owned, disabled? Are you rural or are you urban? So some of these are required. You'll see the red asterisk mark. If they're not required, you can skip them if you don't want to answer them. NAICS code, that one's important. I found this typically the business activity code is also listed on your tax returns, but a lot of people don't know what that means. So it's really just the category which your business falls into. And this is also kind of verifying that you're one of those priority industries. If you don't know your NAICS code, you can click this link here that says search for your code. And what will pop up is kind of a drop-down menu. You can start typing in the type of business that you are, and it will connect you to the one that's most relevant. Just pick that one. For example, if you're a restaurant or beauty or barbershop, then you will click the one that's most related to that. And then we move on. If your business is a franchise, it's asking you, or, that one again is not one of the required ones, but just kind of trying to get more information about the demographics of the owner and the business itself. Section 5 is the disclosure question and answer. So this one is verifying that you're meeting the program's eligibility requirements. And it's kind of similar to what you'll be submitting as well for that applicant certification that we shared the link for earlier. But this is just you again, kind of going through all of these questions, making sure that your business is a nonprofit organization that's compliant with the federal state if you're a nonprofit, or not applicable. Are you 18 years or older? For-profit businesses, at least 10% ownership of the business yourself, or that the person who is submitting the application on your behalf has your permission to do so. That's important to note here. Some of the other questions to look at here is that excuse me. If you're an independent contractor or freelance worker, you're not eligible for this grant. Unless you're operating as a sole proprietor. So that's another one of those things to keep an eye out for. Have you received previous COVID relief in the form of the shuttered venues operation grant? Or if you've received the restaurant revitalization fund, those are some of the grants that may make you ineligible, or they will either just take that balance that you received in a previous grant from what you would be eligible from this one. So say you had the RRF grant at $5,000 and you're a brick and mortar who opened between 2020 and 2021, eligible for 30 grand. They would deduct that $5,000, making you then eligible for 25 grand on this new business grant. Again, asking for some of these, if you're not relevant, if you're not a child care business or organization, you can just put not applicable, but really just wanting again to confirm that you have or haven't received any of these funds. Confirming again the start establishment of your business, that has to be between January 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021. Confirming that you are currently in operations within the state of Illinois. And here is the business majority owned by an individual that became unemployed and started receiving unemployment insurance. Really important again to note there, if you're not one of the priority industries, this may be what qualifies you to be eligible for this grant. And then, does your business or nonprofit prepare and file your own federal taxes or Form 990? Depending on what you select here, it may ask you to enter your best contact information or the contact information, name and phone number of your tax preparer. That's what I've seen as we fill out this application. All right, verify identity. So this application, in addition to having your driver's license, state ID, passport, some form of acceptable government issued ID with a photo, it will ask to do some verification with facial recognition. I've done it on a mobile device when helping businesses fill out this application. So if you don't have access to that, again, one of the spokes in your area or ours can help you. But what this will do is it will ask you to go ahead and take a picture of the front and back side of your, ID, license, whatever form you're using. And then you will have to go ahead and either begin verification with Persona if you have a webcam access on your computer, or you can do also where you scan a QR code with your mobile device and then it will send you a link to your phone. It makes it, I think, a little bit easier to do it on your phone because then you can do the front facing camera. So it would ask you to hold the phone up and kind of do, profile side to side to confirm that the person who is on the ID is also the person who is submitting the application. We've had the question, if you are the business owner, but you're having like your secretary or assistant fill out the application for you, the person who's filling out the application is the one who needs to do the verification, I believe. So what is Persona? Persona is a third-party platform that is working with Lendistry, who is hosting the application. And it is, again, fraud prevention. And this is to make sure that the person filling out this information is indeed the owner who is has authorization of the owner. Next section, upload documents. Again, really, really important that you have access to digitize your files, convert them to PDFs. If they are not PDFs, they're going to deem them as a, ineligible file. And that can maybe be okay if you fill it out, you're in a crunch for the deadline, you want to get your stuff in. They may review it and say, hey, we need a clearer version of this document, or this was submitted in a JPEG, we need a PDF. But it's just better to have this stuff prepared up front and submit it after asking for it if possible, before you go ahead and submit. So it will put here all the different requirements for the documents, and depending on what type of business or organization you are, you may or may not need to upload some of these. Definitely need to do the applicant certification. That's if you're nonprofit, if you're for-profit, whatever type of business you are, you're gonna have to download that and give your initials and signature where it asks you in all the boxes. Once you have that digital document, you can just drag it onto the screen or you can upload it. You're going to need proof of your business organization. So that would be, your articles of incorporation, or your business license with whatever local municipality you operate in. Proof of your revenue for 2021, so you need to have your completed and submitted 2021 tax returns. I would always suggest that you submit the entire packet. Some people, can get some of the sheets missed out, or they're looking specifically for your Schedule C, or, certain forms. I like to just submit everything to make sure they have more than they need. It's always better to have more than less. And then if you are IRS tax exempt, you're gonna need to go ahead and submit that if you're a nonprofit organization. Proof of location, this is the, utility bill or your mortgage bill. Again, needs to be a PDF format, so you can upload that here. And then professional business license, this does not apply to everyone if it's not required for your trade or your industry. I've helped some business owners who have barbershops and beauty salons in the last couple of weeks, so I know that they do get that license issued. So we did have to go ahead and upload that document as this part. Section 8, bank info. So this one is a little bit different than some of the applications I've worked with in the past. Typically, they ask you for your account and your routing number. And the reason for this is if you do get selected to receive the funds, they will just direct deposit it to your account. This one is asking you for the last 2 statements, I believe, of your bank account. So what they've done now, kind of similar to Persona, where they do the partnership to verify your, you're the person not committing fraud submitting this application. They have Plaid, who works with Lendistry as well. And what you can do with Plaid is you can go ahead and log into your online banking, as you may do on your mobile device or your desktop. You'll enter your username and password, and then it will automatically pull those statements from your account and upload them automatically. So it makes it a little bit simpler for you instead of having to go and download those statements yourself. There will be some authorization steps that you have to fill out, but again, you'll need your login and your password for that mobile account, as well as your bank account and routing number. And if you can't log in through Plaid, you will need to have those documents of the most recent bank statements with your transaction history as a PDF file that you'll be able to upload. All right. Section 9, review the application before submission. I always like to double, triple check that all the boxes were checked, everything is spelled correctly. I have had some businesses filling out previous applications where they misspelled their name or they didn't put their middle name, and their middle name was listed on their tax returns. So they really want to make sure that everything's matching up. You can always go back through the tabs here, save and continue later. If you need to double check something, you can come back and log into Lendistry to submit your application at a later time. It will not time out and it's not going to disappear, so your progress does get saved. But please go back, make sure that everything is correct before you actually follow through with agreements to the terms and conditions and submitting the application. Once you submit your application, you will receive an email from Lendistry letting you know that it has been received. And if you don't receive a confirmation email, please check your spam folder. Adding no reply at lendistry.com maybe to your saved contacts list may be a good way to avoid them from going to spam, but some of them will go to junk or spam, so keep an eye out for that. And if you have any questions, don't see it, you can always reach out to that Customer Experience Center. The number, again, we'll share to see if you could drop it in the chat. And to avoid any disruptions in the review process, please make sure that you're on top of your email. So they are going to be reviewing applications as they receive them. Some of the previous applications that you may have applied for or grants that we've worked with, they do not start the review process until after the deadline. We're told they're actively reviewing this application. I know some businesses have already been awarded, so they will let you know. It's important that you stay on top of your email. If they're missing a document or they need a clearer picture of something, they'll send an email. It's going to be how they'll reach out to you. We would not have access to this information. It's all through that Lendistry portal that you create. So if you miss an email, not sure if you're, going to spam, you can always log back into the Lendistry account using your email and password, and it should give you a status of your application there. I have here a question from Nicole. Can you assist multiple businesses from the same email address? Nicole, are you a business yourself, or are you, does the one email address have multiple businesses? There should be one unique email per account, is my understanding. Yes, I would definitely enter their email address. I don't believe it will let you use the same one multiple times.
Yeah, I
Because
think,
it does ask you to verify.
yeah, like each individual application, I mean, organization or applicant must have their own account.
So it'll have, you know, that email and also the phone number. So anytime that they need to log back in, it's gonna send a unique code to that user.
Right.
Right. The review process, once you've submitted everything, as we mentioned, they're going to be actively reviewing the applications. And how do you know if you were awarded? They're gonna reach out to you by email. You may get a call if they urgently need something from you, but it's really important. A lot of times they say, like, submit your, you know, photo ID before January 20th, and they only give you a small window, you know, to go ahead and follow up on the task. If you don't do it, they might just say, sorry, you're not eligible, or we're not going to consider your application, it's incomplete. So please stay on top of your emails. You may be required to confirm certain information over the telephone. So in the couple of times that I've had to call the customer experience center, I'm calling saying, hey, I'm one of the spokes helping a business submit this application. They're sitting right here with me. They won't release information to myself. If you're like Nicole helping another business, you may need to have that business owner present and, you know, authorize you as someone who can call in for updates or information to be released. Application status, you should get this by email, but again, you can always log into Lendistry to see what your status is. This chart is kind of big here, but it gives you an overview of the different statuses: incomplete, inactive, submitted, what it means, and then what type of action is required by you. The ones that I've worked with so far, we've gotten through the application submitted status. But if you have already submitted an application and you're not sure, you know, if you were awarded or if you weren't, if something's missing, my recommendation would be to log into your Lendistry account, you know, at least once a week to check for updates if you're not seeing it on your email. But it'll either say incomplete, active, submitted. If you're ineligible, it should tell you you don't meet the program's requirements. It may tell you why you're not receiving, you know, why you're not eligible. And if you have any questions, again, that's something that you can call that customer experience center within 5 days of receiving the email. Okay. And then more reasons here, additional documents are needed in order for your application to continue through the validation stage. That's one of the ones you don't want to get stuck in, especially if they give you a timeline to say you have to submit it by this date. Because if you don't have all your documents in, they will not consider your application. If you've been declined, it'll tell you why. And then again, if there's, I believe there is, we met with the county today, and they did mention that if you made a mistake on the application, say you put the incorrect established date and you get declined, told that you're ineligible for this reason, you can reach out to the customer experience center and ask them to do a re-review of your application. But you are going to have to submit proof that your business was indeed, you know, open or established during those dates, and it was just a mistake that you made. So further action will be required there. If your application has been approved and it's pending some documents such as a W-9 to make sure who the payable is, then they'll ask you, they'll give you clear instructions in that email of what the next steps are, and links that you may have to follow to log in or where to upload the documents. And then grant funded, that would be the last stage. If you've been fully funded your award, you'll get a notification. You should see that clear through as a direct deposit. No action would be required by you at that time. Now we got to the end of that section, a lot of information as well. Does anyone have any questions? We'll continue here. This last bit is just on how to troubleshoot your account. So I'm sure that we all have, you know, logins to social media accounts, emails, online banking. If you've ever forgotten your password or your email, there are ways for you to recover that. by doing a reset of your password, or if, again, you can't get a hold of it, there's some sort of issue with the web, you can always call the customer experience center. Sometimes there's a glitch in the system and they may need to reset your account or send you a new link. So that's pretty easy to recover if you're having issues. Again, that customer experience center is a great asset. Again, just going through if you forgot your password, how to reset that, kind of walks you through if your account is locked. But this is all things that you guys can take a look at when we send the slideshow after the meeting. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. So we've got 17 minutes here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the floor. If anyone has any specific questions, have you applied? Are you waiting on some documents? Do you need assistance applying? Ticina and I are available. We can share our Calendly links for you to schedule a one-on-one time if you're located near any of our offices. And feel free to come off mute as well if anyone has questions. Ticina, I'm going to drop our Calendly link in the chat if you want to put yours in there as well.
Okay, yeah, I also dropped my email, the office location and our phone number, as well as the Calendly link to book a consultation with me or someone on our team as well.
Well, we'll hang out for a few more minutes. If anyone has questions, or if you want to chat one-on-one, send us a message and we can maybe hop into a breakout room, but we'll hang around if anyone has any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys so much for attending. And we look forward to answering. Yeah, we're here.
Pastor, how are you?
We're doing well. How are you?
Oh, wow. All right.
Maybe it was
Thanks for all the information, ladies. I really appreciate it. I will definitely be applying in a couple of days. And most definitely, I've been in touch with Ticina. She's been very helpful so far to me. If anything else comes up, I will definitely reach out.
Yes,
Thanks
please.
a lot.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Good luck. Thank you so
Have
much.
a lovely. All right, be well. All right, bye-bye.
Hey, David, if you can hear us, we're here. If you have any questions, it looks like you're the last one on the call. We're gonna go ahead and drop otherwise. I'm gonna stop recording.